So 2D shapes. This is our topic for this lesson. So 2D shapes, they're flat. What we draw on paper is 2D or on a computer screen. 2D is short for two-dimensional. That means it has two directions or two dimensions. So the shapes have length and width. There's no thickness. If we include thickness, then it becomes volume. Okay, so there are terms we use called polygons. So polygon is made out of two terms, poly, which means many, and gon, which means side. So many sides. So the most common polygon that we use is the triangle. Where two lines meet, that point is called a vertex or vertices. And this part is called the side. Another common polygon that we work with is a square or a rectangle. So again, we have vertex, we have side. Then you have non-polygons. The most common non-polygon you work with is the circle. This is the center, this is the radius. And then you work with other polygons. Show equal lengths in a polygon. If all these lengths are equal, we use a dash, or we use a double dash. The lines in my diagram aren't the best, but any polygon with equal lengths throughout is called a regular polygon. Now there are different types of polygons. The most common that we study are name of shape, number of sides, and the shape itself. So we've got the triangle to begin with. It has three sides. Simple shape is this. Can be other shapes like this, and so on. The next one is quadrilateral. It has four sides. Can be a rectangle, can be a square, can be a parallelogram, rhombus, etc. Then we have the pentagon. Has five sides. Looks more like this. Hexagon. Six sides like the honeycomb. The Pentagon is the most, it's the US Department of Defense building, if you guys know, in Washington, D.C. It's named after a geometrical shape, as you can tell. Heptagon. That's seven sides. Octagon. That's eight sides. Like this, like your stop sign. And then you have nanogon, which has nine sides. And then you have decagon, which is 10 sides. And you can draw all these shapes. So, regular triangle. Irregular triangle. So let's start with the triangle. So a regular triangle has all equal sides and equal angles. This is also called an equilateral triangle. Equi means equal and lateral means side. So equal and lateral is side. Equal sides in this triangle. Then you've got a square as your quadrilateral. Again, we can show this. So over here, the sum of the angles is 60. Sum of angles is 180, but each angle is 60. Here, the sum of the angles is 360. Each angle is 90. And then you've got pentagon. Here the angles are 108. And then you can draw the diagrams. Irregular shapes will be anything that's not this. So an irregular triangle could be something like this. So maybe two sides are equal, the third one's not equal, or maybe none of the sides are equal. So if two sides are equal of a triangle, it's called an isosceles triangle. If no sides are equal, it's called a scalene triangle. So some names you should know as you study geometry. An irregular quadrilateral could be something like this. So maybe unequal sides. And then irregular hexagon. Let's take a hexagon. Could be like an L shape. So something of this sort. And we can measure using a ruler or just by observation to begin with, and then we can go ahead with understanding more about it. Okay, so we'll study about triangles to begin with. Now triangles have three sides. That has three angles. They can be equal or unequal. The sum of all angles in a triangle is equal to 180. So if you have a triangle like this, and let's say there are angles like A, B, and C. So if I add A, B, and C, I'll always get 180. And you can test this. So draw any triangle, measure the angles inside, and you'll get 180 each time. So the parts of a triangle. So this is your side. There are three straight lines that make up the triangle, and they are called sides. Then where two sides meet, that point is called the vertex. So there are three vertices, three sides. And three angles. The base is right here at the bottom. The apex is at the top. The angles are right here. So we'll talk about angles in a later class or a lecture. So then we have congruent triangles or congruent shapes. So two things you want to look at. One simple case or an easy way to look at it. If you look at two exactly same iPads, you'll see the same distinctive features. That is what congruency is. So it has the same sides, equal length of sides, and it has equal angles. That's what makes two shapes congruent. If you can find these features in it, the diagram will be a congruent diagram. Types of triangles. There are four that we will study. The first one is the equilateral triangle. It has equal sides, equal lengths. Each angle is 60 degrees. So whenever you see 60 as all inside the triangle, it just means that it's an equilateral triangle. The angles are congruent. Sorry, there should be angles. And the angles are congruent. Okay, second shape. Two sides are equal. Let's draw it. So here two angles are equal and two sides are equal. Number three, right angle triangle. So this is isosceles, sorry. Then the right angled triangle. So that has one right angle. So this is a very frequently studied shape. So you'll see this also. Then the last one is scalene. So maybe something like this. So here no sides are equal. So you could have isosceles and right angled. That's when you got 90 and 45, 45 as the angles. But scalene, no sides are equal, no equal angles. So quadrilaterals. As we discussed earlier, quad just means 4 in Latin. So let's discuss a few quadrilaterals. So remember that if I want to show parallel lines, I'm just going to show an arrow through it. And for equal length of sides, I'm just going to show a dash or 2 dashes or 3 dashes, depending on which side we are talking about. So we'll use that to our advantage. Same with angles. So let's start with the parallelogram. So it's like a square or a rectangle, but the top is, imagine it to be slid in a certain direction. So these two sides are parallel. They're of equal length. And then these two sides are parallel. Sometimes they'll be the same length. At other times it will be different lengths. And then these two angles are equal. And we can prove all this. So after drawing a parallelogram, we can see that we'll find the opposite sides to be equal, the opposite angles to be equal, and then opposite sides are parallel. It's as similar to the rectangle. The only thing with the rectangle is that all angles are 90. So parallel, equal, parallel, equal, 90. Then you've got the rhombus. So the rhombus is more like a square, but looks more like a parallelogram. So equal sides, and then parallel, parallel. And then these angles are the same. These are equal, these are equal, these are equal, these are equal. So it's more like a parallelogram with equal sides. And then you've got just a square. One of the most studied shapes, such that Klondike is making squares cool since 1922. Oh, I just made a circle around, or an oval. It's just making squares cool since 1922. All right, the next shape that we study is the trapezoid. So it has one pair of parallel sides. This can be 90, it can be any angle. It can have an isosceles trapezoid where there are equal sides. Two sides are equal. So this is an isosceles trapezoid. And then you could have another shape called the kite. So that looks more or less like this. You may have seen something like this. So these two sides are equal. These two sides are equal. And again, opposite angles over here are equal. But these two are not equal. So this could be A and B. So some of the quadrilaterals that we study are right here. Okay.